Islam is not a religion of peace, and here's why. But before I start this video, I want to say that what I'm going to discuss are universally accepted truths in Islam. I didn't make any of these things up and have already checked the validity with a prominent Islamic scholar. It is important to keep in mind that I personally come from a Muslim family and my granddad was a Hafiz, meaning he had memorized the whole of the Quran. However, I do not identify as a Muslim, but I do believe in God. I do not follow any religion, as I believe all religions are man-made and just a label which divide rather than unite. I believe that God is an energy and a frequency that flows through everything, and it's a common string that exists in everything, and that the devil is the illusion of separation. Ironically, it's religion that divides rather than unites. Majority of the wars in history have been fought over religion. Think about the Dark Ages of Christianity and the current battle between Islam and Judaism. Also, I was born and grew up in a Muslim country until I was 13 years old and have seen firsthand the horrors of Islam, especially when you allow it to mix with politics. Religion and politics should stay separate, the separation of church and state. Religion is a deeply personal thing and it shall not be mixed with politics regardless of the religion. Finally, I did not make this video to insult anyone's belief. However, as a society, we should have a common baseline of facts before making a decision and shouldn't be brainwashed into thinking something without evidence. So fundamentally, I made this video to educate people regarding the dark side of Islam and its leader Muhammad. So let's get into it. Islam is not a tolerant religion. There are a lot of tolerant Muslims. In Islam, there is no tolerance. In Islam, if you are an apostate, meaning if you were born a Muslim or converted to one, and then you decide that you want to convert to Christianity or to become a non-believer, your punishment is death. Meaning, Islam is a contract you cannot get out of. This is being practiced currently in Islamic countries, which hang people who decide to convert to a different religion or become non-believers. Adultery and fornication, meaning having sex with people you are not married to, carries the death penalty and the maximum and 100 flogging lashes at the minimum. Sometimes some victims are being stoned to death. In Sharia law, a thief should have their limbs, hands and feet cut off. Blasphemy, meaning questioning Islam and his prophet Muhammad, is punishable by death. Drawings of Muhammad are banned and people should be punished by death if they do so. Think about the Charlie Hebdo shootings. Being gay or lesbian is also punishable by death and is currently practiced in most Islamic countries. In Islam, women's eye testimony is worth half of that of a man. Men are entitled to double the inheritance compared to a woman. Men can have multiple different wives at the same time, whereas women can only have one husband. Quite sexist if you ask me, and incompatible with the idea of Muslim feminism, something which you currently see in university campuses, and it honestly makes me laugh, as these girls don't know the first thing about Islam. Now, Muslims would argue that before Islam, women were being killed as infants, and savages in the Arabian desert didn't see any value in women, and it was Islam that saved women. However, that is a fallacy, because women were actually highly valued in other parts of the world. The Persians valued women highly. Cyrus the king only had one wife, Cassandain, which had an active role in politics and running of the country. Alexander the Great, the Romans, the Greeks, and the Egyptians, think Cleopatra, all valued women highly and had no such attitude towards women, all of which came before Islam. So this idea that Islam saved women is false. It might have saved them from the savages that lived in the Arabian desert. However, it still fell short to give women the rights they had historically in other parts of the world. Now let's look at the life of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, and the highest example for any Muslim to aspire to. Did he kill? Yes, he did. Did he marry a 9-year-old child when he was 51 years old himself? Yes, he did. Did he kill the Jewish community of Khaybar because they did not give him the treasures to fund his military campaign? And did he sleep with Sophia, the wife of Kanana, the leader of that community, the same night he killed her husband? Yes, he did. Was he a brutal military leader that killed and took revenge on anyone who stood in his way? Yes, he did. Muhammad had 11 wives and also married his adopted son's wife. Taught his followers to drink camel urine as a medicine. He stole old stories and rewritten them in the Quran. The Quran itself is based 90% on the Bible, and stories such as Adam and Eve, Noah's Ark, my name, Eunice, in Jonah and the Whale, and many others appeared in the Bible first. So he basically took the Bible, streamlined it, and added his own twist. Muhammad also had female sex slaves, allowed men to beat their wives using a free warning system, wrongly predicted that the world will end shortly after him. Following Muhammad's death, Ali, one of his top generals, continued the Islamic conquest into Persia, in which he destroyed one of the most advanced civilizations in history by burning libraries, raping women, and killing men. He gave all prisoners of war an ultimatum that you either convert to Islam or will be beheaded. Converting to Islam was never a choice, but a necessity if you wanted to survive, contrary to what the Islamists want you to believe. It broke down statues and took down a 2,500-year-old culture of the Persian Empire built by Cyrus the Great. Persians had their own religion, Zoroastrian. However, Islam was imposed on them by force. So where is the tolerance in that exactly? I understand there are tolerant Muslims, but Islam itself and Muhammad are not tolerant at all. I say this because I was born in a Muslim country and have been studying the Quran since I was 5 years old and have perfect knowledge of Islam from the most trusted sources. In Saudi Arabia, women couldn't drive until 2018. Saudi Arabia only started to become an advanced country as their leader Mohammed bin Salman started ignoring the traditional values and the traditionalists within his country and is bringing Saudi Arabia into the 21st century. Saudi Arabia has become advanced not because of Islam, but despite it. Additionally, Saudi Arabia is extracting billions worth of oil per day, so they should have already been one of the top countries in the world. But because of their traditional leadership in the past, it stagnated their growth until Mohammed bin Salman changed everything. Countries like United Arab Emirates ignore completely Islamic teaching and were created in the first place to emulate Las Vegas of Middle East. Dubai was created for wealthy Arab men to go to a place where they can sin outside of their country without being prosecuted, and hence why Dubai is one of the most advanced countries in the world. Any Muslim country who is advanced is ignoring the teachings of Islam and not following them. On the other hand, if you look at all the third world countries which have stagnated growth, are countries that do follow Islam literally. Think Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Somalia, and South Sudan. The more countries allow for religion to mix with politics, especially to mix with Islam, the more it stagnates their growth. There's a direct correlation between influence of Islam in a certain country and the level of underdevelopment. So hence why most third world countries are also countries with high levels of religious extremism. Now, this is not to say this is to do exclusively with Islam. As the European Spring, Renaissance, and the Age of Enlightenment came after European countries started denouncing Christianity. Real development and advancement can only take place when countries separate church and state. And such things need to happen in the Middle East for countries to develop. Life should not be looked at through one prism, whether it is Islam, Christianity, or else. Life is dynamic. It is not difficult to understand Islam or any other ideology for that matter. It's just one book with a few hadiths here and there. It is extremely easy to just use one book and give one solution problem to everything. The real challenge is to understand everything from Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, science, philosophy, psychology, politics, physics, and all else, and coming to our own conclusion once we have understood everything. That's real wisdom. Not using a one-stop solution for everything and having a book that was written thousands of years ago as a reference point. Finally, I am a spiritual person, and can feel spiritual anywhere, from church to mosque to my own house. Spirituality and the connection with God are a deeply personal thing and cannot be quantified through a religion or an ideology. I ask all my followers to abandon ideology. Religion is an ideology, and ideologies separate people. It also makes perfectly rational, kind, and loving humans to do heinous things just because a book told them to do it. That's the real darkness of religious fundamentalism. Thank you for watching.